Wow. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Alexis Maurice, and I just got through watching tonight's episode of Scandal. Um, and I'm in my feelings. I definitely am in my feelings as a young black African American man. So go ahead and pour yourself a glass of wine, put on some lipstick, pull up a chair, and let's discuss tonight's episode of Scandal. Um, First off, I definitely want to thank Shonda Rhimes for using this platform that you have um, to shine light and bring awareness to an issue that's in these United States, an issue that so many people who, in my opinion, are not of color can't really identify with. And that's racial profiling. And I thank Shonda Rhimes for reinforcing the message on national network television that black lives do matter. And the lives of our young black African American men matter. So let me go ahead and take my first sip. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, that is so good. This is what I'm drinking on tonight, y'all. God, that is so good. But, tonight's episode definitely was, it was emotionally charging. And I'm glad because just looking on Facebook and looking on Twitter, this episode is cultivating, or it's serving as a catalyst for a conversation that we need to have, that we definitely need to have, in America. So the episode was about a young black man, a young black boy, in high school, if I'm not mistaken, but he was gunned down in his own neighborhood by a white police officer. There was some type of confrontation. The police officer said that a young store in the neighborhood was robbed. He was, someone stole a cell phone, and it was believed to be the young black man. And, apparently he reached for some knife, and the officer feared for his life, and then he shot him, cold dead in the middle of the street. And the young man's father he came with the shotgun, and he was not going to move until, he felt that his son's life, that his son's story would be told properly, and that evidence wouldn't be tampered with, and things of that particular nature. It was definitely a police standoff. Olivia was brought in by officials, of course, to defuse the situation, but there was a young activist, black activist, neighborhood activist, Marcus, who was there, who, in my personal opinion, Olivia might want to consider hiring, because he would be a great replacement for Harrison. But the episode kind of started off rocky because of the fact that, Olivia was brought in. She was an African-American woman. They thought that she would be able to diffuse the situation. But when the activist Marcus came in, basically, no, you can't diffuse the situation. And, the whole, where's your black card kind of, it was played, had Marvin Gaye, what's going on in the background. A lot of symbolism in tonight's episode. And that's what I really loved about it. And I love the fact that Olivia finally took a stand when she saw, what was happening, that they were trying to divert the attention away from the situation in the media, talking about the vice president being a vegetable, with that fake stroke that he's having in the nursing home or wherever the hell he is now. But when Olivia saw what was going on, she stood up for what was right. Stand up, fight back. No more black men are under attack. No more black men are under attack. And, Olivia went on the other side, and, she had, she joined the protesters. And one of the lines that stood out for me tonight when she was having the conversation with David Rosen, the Attorney General, I need you to get involved. But because it was in the back door of the White House, in the backyard of the White House, Cyrus and all them felt that they shouldn't get involved. But she said fairness and justice isn't for everybody. And it's not. It's not. And I think sometimes what makes us as African Americans so frustrated is when we make these statements or we try to shine light on it, it's no one believes it, or everyone thinks that we're trying to pull the race card or something of that nature. But that's not the case. Fairness and justice isn't for everybody. I know situations, and there was this thing on Twitter that was trending a couple of months ago, last year, where white people were tweeting scenarios. It was on social networks and everything, Facebook, where they were tweeting scenarios where they knew white people got off for the same things that black people did. I forgot what it was called. But it definitely, fairness and justice isn't for everyone. And then we have the monologue that the police officer gave when he got found out that he already had arrested somebody and had the person in the back seat of his car, but let him go and planted the knife on the black man. And I applaud the black man's father, because he stood in his truth of what he knew what his son does or did. He knew his son didn't carry a weapon, and he knew it, and he refused to believe it when when him and Marcus them turned that body over. And I appreciate him for standing in his truth and not letting the situation or the pressures of what's going on around him to sway his judgment. I definitely appreciate that. But the police officer, the monologue that he made, that he gave, when he was talking about respecting the badge, and black people, we don't respect the black badge, and black on black crime is what plagues our neighborhoods, and he put on his boots every day, strap up every day to go in and protect the same people who are killing each other. And I'm not going to sit here and say that what he said wasn't true. There was definitely some truth in what he was saying. We have to, as a race, we have to do better. We have to stop tearing each other down. We have to lift each other up. We have to teach our young black men. And I would encourage everybody to not let this episode just be something, emotionally charging. Get involved, be a mentor. Definitely something that I need to get back in the habit of doing. Being a mentor to people and, young black men, and teaching them the right way. Just as Olivia was trying to teach Marcus that, his way isn't always the best. And that's why I felt that maybe she could mentor him and she should hire him. But anyway, there was some truth in what he said. But something else that stood out to me, and this is just speaking from personal experience, where in order to get respect, you have to give it. I'm a firm believer in that. And I do believe that a lot of the kids, the younger generation, and I'm not just talking about black children, I'm talking about children, period. There's just no respect anymore. Nobody respects anybody. The kids curse out their parents, they curse out teachers, they hit teachers, they hit adults, they curse, our elderly. I saw one video on Facebook where the kids were being inducted into a gang and they attacked this old senior citizen just sitting at the bus stop. I mean, they attacked this woman. And unfortunately, the images that we often see are black students or black children doing that. So we have to teach them. But in order to get respect, you have to get it. And just speaking from personal experience, a lot of police officers, and not just white police officers, a lot of black police officers are disrespectful. They are proactively disrespectful. I have, I'm a frequent speeder, so I'm always, pulling over. I always get pulled over. But I've been in situations where I have been racially profiled. For example, just today, I was in the airport waiting for my bags. Delta lost my bags, by the way, and still haven't contacted me and let me know that they found them. And I had some pretty expensive shit in that bag. But anywho, today they were doing a training sequence in the baggage area. So I was waiting, and I was watching it was one white lady, and the guys who were training the dogs, they were white as well. Um, these were smaller dogs too. They weren't big, dogs, but they were small, and you can tell they didn't know anything. They were teaching them and they were training them, drilling them, having drills and stuff. And everything they were doing to trigger the dogs wasn't working. And I just stood there and watched because I was waiting for such a long time. So I was standing there, and I happened to be the only black young man, there. And when I travel, I wear a hat, I wear a V-neck, I wear sweats, and I wear a pair of Jordans. And I have headphones on. And I purposely travel that way. Just to see, how people would interact with me and, all that kind of stuff like that. But today, the dog was around, and the dog was smelling this other lady who happened to be Caucasian. She wasn't black, but she was Caucasian. And the dog was smelling her, but the lady looked at me and told me to drop my book bag. And I'm looking around. At first, I didn't understand what she said, but she said, "Sir, I need you to drop your book bag, please. I need you to drop your book bag." Now, mind you, the dog wasn't triggered smelling me, because I smell like roses and peaches and cream or whatever. But she told me to drop my book bag, and I dropped my book bag on the floor. You know what the dog did? Absolutely nothing. He didn't do anything. He looked at my bag and kept on by his business, smelling the lady who was next to me. And, I was just like, she didn't even tell me afterwards. She didn't tell me, "Thank you, you can pick your bag up," nothing. Just walked off. Just completely walked off. I've been in situations where, cops have been proactively aggressive to me. When it's been situations, let's say I've been at a club or something like that, and, a fight break out or driving or something of that nature. And they're very nasty. They're very, you can have authority. People respect the badge. But what happens is the people who are behind the badge are proactively nasty, and they have to come up and exert some type of authority or something of that nature. That makes people upset. And just like you can ask me a question, I can ask you a question. "Why are you stopping me today?" Now, usually when you're speeding, that's the first question the police officers ask you, and I can't stand that. "Bitch, I know why you pulled me over today." But they get upset when you ask them questions. And last time I checked, this is America. There's no law saying I can't question a person of authority. Just like the young man did today when he was walking over he had the lawn chair. I am recording this. And I think a lot more people are doing that now, which is, there's lobbying for, police officers to have cameras in their, badges, not in their badges, in their, uniforms and things of that particular nature. And, the police officers, a lot of them are upset because they're getting bad raps and things of that nature. But my thing is, you have to think before you speak, and you have to think before you act. I don't care if you're a police officer. You have to treat everybody with fairness and equality. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen when it comes to us. And there's a lot of stereotypes out there that, black men are always up to something, or we're always doing something, and things of that nature. Like I said, the monologue that the man gave today, I can't knock it. There is some truth. We have a lot of black on black crime. And I appreciate and I applaud, those police officers of any race. It doesn't matter if you're white. There are black police officers. There are Asian police officers. There are Hispanic police officers that boot up and suit up just like everybody else. And they go out there and protect the same people who, who commit crimes just like every other black person. And, a lot of times, I think how, if something like that was to happen to someone who's white, losing your son, to senseless act of violence, from police officers and things of that particular nature, how would you react? How would you feel if your children were just being gunned down, every day or every other day or something of that nature when it comes to, police officers? I like to think that a lot of white people will be up in arms. And just like the vice president, the candidate who Fitz and Melly chose tonight, that shit's gonna end up backfiring on her, because the thing about her, she might be ditzy, but she has passion and she's passionate about things, and she might end up being like a really strong contender for Millie. I just see that not going the way that they intended it to go. But tonight's episode, I really enjoyed it. It was powerful. It's getting, it's starting a discussion. And what I loved about it is that at the end, Shonda, had Olivia take the man to go see the president, who also lost his son. And that's something that was an emotion that they could share together. And what I liked about it was there was compassion. There was compassion. And I think that's what we miss sometimes from white people. You're not as compassionate. Sometimes you show more compassion to a dead dog in the street than you show to a dead black boy, who's a young black boy with a future ahead of them, going to college, being a doctor. If they aspire to be someone in the sports industry, so what? That's a dream that he or she has, and you can't take that away from them. But there's no compassion. Immediately, I've seen white people get on the defense, when we start having this type of conversation. And I also see a lot of African-American suburban kids, get on the defense as well when it comes to when you have these conversations about race and things of that nature. Unfortunately, black suburban kids' experience isn't the same experience that someone from an inner city may or may not have. I do also believe it's, what you make of that experience too. You are in charge of your own destiny. You have to, make sound decisions. But a lot of times, as a young black man, we have a lot of strikes against us. And I enjoy, and I hate this, but I enjoy seeing a black suburban kid get exposed to some of the stuff that I've gotten exposed to. And it's not me discounting them because they've been a little bit more fortunate than me or anybody else. But it's a real moment for them to realize that they are a black man, in the United States. And you're a black man in America. And I don't care what spoon you grew up with in your mouth. At the end of the day, you look just like me. And you're going to get treated just like me too. And it's always funny when they have that real moment when they are hit face, or they come face to face with racism. Bam! Dead in their face. And then they want to get upset and, become emotional. But some people have been dealing with it all of their lives. I'm a tall, big, black boy. When I walk into the room, I command attention. Because of the fact that I'm tall, I'm dark, and because I'm big. People look at me. Some people automatically make assumptions about me because of my height. As LaToya Jackson said to Nene, your height? But because of my height, my weight, and my skin color. Fortunately, that's a lesson that I know. And that's a lesson that I've learned. And I know how to address myself. And I know how to carry myself. But sometimes I like to push the envelope. Hence why the reason, I do look a little thuggish, when I'm walking, through an airport, or when you're going to buy something. I challenge a lot of you, go dress like a bum. I never forget this. My mom told me the last car that she brought a couple of years ago, her and my brother was out and about. Her and my brother, they were out and about. And they were just dressed like they had just rolled out of the bed or something like that. And what happened was, she was like, let's go look at a car. This story is something similar to this. She was like, let's go look at a car. So she was like, okay, Mom, let's go look at a car. So I'm going to go look at a car. She happened to find a car that she liked, which is the car, the SUV that she drives now. And, they were talking to the salesperson, who happened to be a black man. Who happened to be a white man. And My mom was just asking him, hypothetically, if I pay for this car straight up, cash, no payments, no financing, how much would you charge me? Well, he laughed and significantly dropped the price of the truck. And so my mom was like, "No, are you serious?" She was like, "Yeah, I'll give you this truck for X amount of money." Now everybody know, when money talks, bullshit walks. So when you're buying something straight up, a lot of times, you do knock something off, but they knocked a significant amount off. So my mom and my brother was like, "Well, can we get this in writing or whatever?" He wrote it in writing. I thinking that because of how they looked, that they weren't going to do anything. And that happens a lot. Just to me, when I walk into a Gucci store or a Burberry store, or Neiman Marcus sometimes, and I don't, I'm just making a run or just out and about, you're not dressed to the T, they look over you. Happens a lot. Because I think because of the color of my skin. And black people have the tendency to not buy things or not tip. But, so the man, they walked away. So my mom went to the bank. She got the money for the vehicle. And she took it back up there. And she said the man turned red or whatever when she went back up there. He was upset and, he was trying to change things. But no, sir, in black and white, this is what you quoted me for this vehicle. And they had to sell her the car at that price. But never judge a book by its cover is basically what I'm saying. And this episode was just it was a good episode. By far, to me, this is the best Scandal episode there has been, period. Shonda was tweeting that when they had the table read for this episode, after they finished, the table read was quiet. It was completely quiet. And I can imagine, being in the room and reading this script. I'm like, damn, this is powerful. But I thank you, Shonda Rhimes, for sharing this episode. And I know I'm behind when it comes to my reviews. I promise you guys, I'm going to go back. I did 3. I'm going to catch up with the rest of the season. But tonight's episode was just so powerful. I just really needed to just vocalize it and just share my sentiments on this. But it was a great episode. And again, I thank Shonda Rhimes for shining light to the world on this issue. To me, I don't think you get the recognition that you should when it comes to accolades in the industry, i.e. awards and things of that particular nature. But this was definitely an award-winning episode, in my opinion. Sometimes I think Scandal doesn't win a lot of awards because there's too many black people that watch it. The only thing I encourage people, I encourage every one of my, my friends, because I have a lot of white friends, I have a lot of white coworkers and everything. And not every white person isn't bad. And I don't want anyone to ever feel that that's what I'm saying or trying to come across what I'm trying to. I don't want you to feel that that's what I'm saying, because I know a lot of great white people. And, a lot of white people have deposited a lot of positive things in my life. But unfortunately, regardless of those deposits that a lot of them have made, I'm a black man living in America, and I have some strikes against me, and that's my truth, and that's the truth that we stand in, and that's the truth that we know. I'm breaking barriers because I graduated from one of the quote unquote worst schools in Columbia, South Carolina, C.A. Johnson High School. But look at me, I'm a black man in corporate America with a college education, more than 1 degree. And I have I work for a Fortune 500 company. I went to college, I feel, more prepared and more well-read than a lot of people who went to these quote-unquote best schools in Columbia, Dutch Fork or Spring Valley or, Richland Northeast or Han. I went to the blackest of the black schools. And I think, what I'm saying is I'm thankful for my experience. I'm thankful for my experiences because they allow me to become a better person. And only thing I just challenge, a lot of white people or white people who are watching this is, learn to be more compassionate. Don't just automatically assume that we're pulling the race card, or, this is, you're just up in arms about slavery. You didn't get your, your mule and 50 acres and a mule, and, just all of that stuff, because these are the truths that we live. And I think the more that we can have this conversation without people getting upset or people getting on the defense, or just like how President Fitz showed that father compassion, don't just dismiss what we're saying because it's the truth. And white privilege, that's what it was. That was the trending topic on Twitter and Facebook, pound white privilege. It exists, people. It really, really do exist. And, when it comes to the police officers, I thank you. I have people in law enforcement in my family. My father was, in law enforcement. My brother was in law enforcement. My aunt was in, two of my aunts were in law enforcement. My cousins were in law enforcement. A lot of people were, in my family were in law enforcement. But, you have to be compassionate. Show us a little bit more compassion and understanding. It's not something that we can just get past because we're hit with it every day. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And it's unfortunately it's a truth that you don't know. And when we try to share that truth with you, you become very dismissive sometimes. So, just show a little compassion. Show a little understanding. Because if you want us to show you, we can show you. But you got to be willing to listen, and you have to be willing to see it. But I've taken up enough of your time of tonight's episode of Scandal. Thanks for watching it. And like this video, share it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that good stuff. And thank you for all of your support, guys. I appreciate you. And remember, Black lives do matter. And thank you, Shaman Rounds, for sharing that on your platform today. Holla!